What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Trade Genius Podcast. Philip here with Bob, as always, and we want to talk about GBTC again. Bob, you know the drill. More risk in the system with crypto. Seems like every week, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. You guys got to listen to this one. It never ends, Phil.
Yeah. We're also going to get into where we could buy the dip because that's what we do best. If you guys have been listening to us, you've caught some pretty good warning signals and also opportunities to buy. Bob's been hitting a lot of good calls lately. So we'll talk about that in this video. So let's dive in.
Trade Genius.
Hey, Phil, time for a little humble bragging time here. If you guys peruse back through our earlier videos, we're hoping to give you guys a little bit of a futures lesson here in terms of where we think things are going to go. We were looking for some more weakness coming into this week before potentially Santa. We had a nice move down in the market, probably a little turnaround Tuesday tomorrow, but JP Morgan's going to put pressure on the market. We talked about Mara down to 375 now. We're going to talk a little grayscale here. Maybe we should talk a little Binance too. I know we don't have any charts for that, but they're making some moves too in the marketplace. We're not out of the woods there. And some of the trades that we've been putting out there for you guys to hold longer term have been holding up. So I encourage you guys to kind of skim backwards and look at some of the videos that we've done. Look, they're designed to help you guys make money or make less mistakes. So take advantage of that. With that, Phil, I'm going to throw it back to you on Grayscale. Interesting development.
Yeah, the latest scuttlebutt going around is that they may tender up to 20% of the fund for sale to if they can't get this ETF approved. And, there's been some back and forth on whether or not they'd follow through with that. But I think given the situation with the digital currency group, DCG, right, the parent entity, I think you have to just assume that the longer this ETF thing plays out, the higher the likelihood they may have to actually go through with this. So so basically this headline came out about them having to possibly tender up to 20%. So a little more detail into that. If they can't turn it into an ETF, they'd look to return up to 20% of the trust capital to shareholders. A tender offer of no more than 20% of the outstanding shares could be on the table, according to a letter from the firm's chief executive, Michael Sonnenschein. I think that's how you say his name. Anyway, so let's just say 20%. That's about $2 billion currently, or just under 130,000 BTC that hits the market. So as every crypto winter, it seems like just when it couldn't get any worse, it does. And so not only do we have the macroeconomic picture looking kind of bleak, and we're looking like we're heading down toward a new leg in the equity markets, which will also weigh on crypto and Bitcoin specifically. Any additional sell pressure such as this hitting the market is not going to help our cause. So Bob, what I thought we would do is probably bring up a chart and let's just take a look at some of these levels, because we do have sell pressure on the way in various forms. What levels can we look at to pick up a decent buys here on Bitcoin as we move forward? So a couple areas here that are of note. And the first one I'm going to note is, there's my cursor. So the first area, 13,831, what that is that's the previous high. If you guys remember, I believe it was the Plus token Ponzi in China. And that took us up to this interim halving rally in 2019. And when that Ponzi finally collapsed, then we came off of that level. But that high there, you can notice we went right through that on our bull run. And when that happens, a lot of times when you go through a resistance level like butter like that, it does actually become pretty stout support on the retest. Now, as you can see on this chart, relatively speaking, it doesn't look like we have too much further fall to get there. So I do expect with some degree of probability that we are going to see 13,831 tested. It's not a stretch at this point given the bearish market that we're in. The next area I'd look for is, I don't know if you guys recall, some of you guys were with us back in 2017, but this 11,007, just under 11,800 level was a huge battle zone. Okay, this area was like we thought we were going to break through it and maybe potentially test the highs, but instead it was a major failure in the 2018 bear market, which we never came back to until much, much later during that Plus token Ponzi pump, which we got up to and failed again at. So failing that 13,800 area, I'm looking at 11,686 as the next point if we lose that 13,831 level. Okay, because if you lose that level, then you basically are opening up the range lower. And typically the rules are once you lose that level, you're going to look for the next area of support below. Now, if 11,686 doesn't hold, the next area I'm looking at is 10,030 or roughly 10,000. And that's because of this area here where it was some consolidation after the plus token Ponzi in 2019, and that broke down, and then we had to move back up to it, which failed a couple of times and ultimately sent us to our lows for 2019 into 2020. And so that's another area where typically if you get back to this zone, you'll see that area become kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, and they'll back test it. As with all three of these levels, what you want to watch for is if when they start to turn into resistance, meaning if we lose them and they start to turn into resistance, you really don't want to get long into that level. You'd rather see it come back over a level, come back and test it, right? And that's the spot when you want to get long. Otherwise, these three levels, very key, I think, in the coming months, especially if the equity markets are going to be probing down toward, you guys remember we talked about that JP Morgan collar. If we do go sub 3,000 on SPX, I can't tell you which one of these levels is going to hold for support, but it's going to be one of them most likely. And so like I said, you just want to watch to see if they hold or if they break through, or you might just be happy in dollar cost averaging in the zone, because I think over the next 24 months and beyond, this is going to be good value areas as we go through the Bitcoin cycle.
Phil, there's if I could jump in, is that if I'm doing some fast math here while you're talking, depending on how fast they dump those coins out in the market, that could be like 8 or 10% of the float. Because like only 10 to 20% of the coins are actually even trading, and if they dump 120 some thousand coins out there, that represents a big amount of the float that's out there, which definitely will drive price. That's enough probably to move price down into your bands on that. And then regarding the collar today, people came out and said, hey, don't be surprised if we push down to 2,400 on SPX. So I think people are taking that collar seriously. I know we kind of tongue in cheek that here, 2-week crash, but that 2,800 area is probably pretty probable going into probably the February Fed meeting if JP Morgan starts rolling out that collar into the first quarter. So yeah, I just think liquidity and Bitcoin are still operating under the assumption that there is none.
Yeah. And and especially if the net liquidity graph starts to drop, Bitcoin is the most sensitive to that, right? From all this dollar injection or dollar liquidity injection that the markets have had. So you got to be very, very careful here, especially if you're being sensitive to where you want to get in at on Bitcoin. So just thought we would kind of go over some of those levels with you guys and give you just another update on yet something else in the crypto markets that is going to put probably negative pressure in the short term on things. So just be careful out there. And let us know your thoughts. Do you think we're going to hit one of these levels or lower? I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. Thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.
Trade Genius.